All right. Our friend Ron Nelson is going to join us in just a minute. It's always fun, as we mentioned at the top of the show with Jody Schwan, that Ron will always try to guess what Jody's going to be talking about. And we always talk about some of those businesses, those business stories, things that influenced people in business in the 907 segment with Jody, and then at the 933 segment with Ron Nelson. And I know today that Shopko is going to be a part of it. We know that the activity with the old Sioux Falls Ford location is going to be a part of it. And we know that he always has a few surprises for us. He is probably the most quoted of the commercial real estate people because he's on this show. And he has a chance to use this opportunity, this communication, to come on and, by gosh, share with you what he will. My job is to try to pry it out of this guy. Even though he likes Nebraska better than Iowa, that's okay. Iowa's going to get equal time at 9:45 this morning. But he has made it in. He's made it from 33rd in Minnesota. And we did talk about Shopko this morning.
Yes, you did. I listened in. I had to just make sure we weren't being redundant.
Oh, no. You and Jody are never redundant. Maybe the same topic, but never the same approach.
Yeah, different slant. Yeah, didn't factor in the snow this morning in driving in, but here we are. So good filler, by the way. So
best I could do.
I appreciate that. But yeah, what a week. I mean, commercial real estate topping kind of the news cycle. And yeah, is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I guess all I can say is, to sum it up, out with the old, in with the new. I mean, think about it. Shopko closing, Empire Place opening, it's, what did I say at the end of last year and kind of going into this year? It's going to be a year for sure filled with uncertainty. And geez, we're 2.5 weeks into the new year?
18 days.
18 days, and it's already happening. But, think about it. This town, if you think about what truly is going on. This time last year, we said, oh, you know what? We're a little vulnerable. Got a couple anchors in the mall that, might be on the bubble. Sears, Kmart's. In 12 months, now, not that Shopko is officially closed today, but, the announcement is there. So call it 18. In an 18-month period, we're having 6 big box stores closing. I've said earlier, these things come in threes. I didn't know that they'd come in multiples of threes or 2 times 3, but, 6 big boxes closed. And the good news is 2 of them have already been committed to, be backfilled. The Kmart on West 12th sold to Stan Houston Equipment. Great use. The Yonkers announced that Dillard's, is going in there. So
is that an upgrade, you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Dillard's is, a great department store. You worry about everybody when the category is down, like in stocks, if Southwest and United Airlines are down, the whole category lots of times are down. And so that's the thing with department stores. So it's like, well, Dillard's, geez, I hope. But, there's always that silver lining in, most economies. And it's not that the department store model is flawed. It's changing. Dillard's has done a better job of changing clearly, than Yonkers have. Walmart seems to still be thriving, yet Shopko, hasn't. And so the classic Darwinian evolution, really, if
nice
you think
word.
about it. Well, yeah, the strong survive, the weak don't. And, it's always been that way, in retail. In a perfect world, people are like, well, we're losing, you add up all the boxes, we're talking 500,000 plus square feet. How much are we bringing to town? Well, Mills Fleet Farm, that's like 175,000. The Stan Houston, and that is doing a backfill, in other words, going into one of the closed stores. But people are like, why can't they just, all these new guys go into all these closed stores, so we have perfect equilibrium, and one of my other favorite sayings is, one thing we learned from history is we don't learn anything from history.
We're not very good historians.
Well, and it just doesn't play out that way.
Factors are different.
Well, things are different. The timing is certainly, not always going to work out perfectly. But, come on. Mills Fleet Farm in a, vacant Kmart, I can kind of see that. But the point is, those stores are closing, because they lost their relevance, So, not many people that are new, exciting, or retailers or whatever want to go into, a tired, old, relevant thing. Not that you don't see it sometimes, but it's an entirely, sometimes they scrape the property. If they do repurpose it, if you will, it's usually unrecognizable, what the changes have been made. But like I said, it doesn't, you think about it, the two announcements this week, the Shopko closing, the Empire Place opening. Were any of those really surprises? I mean, we've known that something is going to happen.
They were predictable.
Yeah. So, in as much as at the one thing it at least eliminated is kind of that uncertainty or that limbo. I mean, as I kind of joke about Shopko, it's not like the nails haven't been ready to, go into the coffin. I mean, Shopko's been over with for a number of years. Somebody just forgot to drop the obituary off to the stores and to the corporate office just to let them know.
The printing press didn't work.
But yeah, that one has been in the works for a long time. And, can you say, oh man, what a black eye to the market? Well, not to sound bold or crass or whatever, but nobody was shopping at Shopko anyway. So, is that hurting what's going on 41st Street? All I can say is big picture, no. Now you might remember Shopko as a building on 41st Street actually was purchased just like July of last year. That's when the story ran, by an investment group. Like $11 million they paid for that Shopko. So, they knew and went into that with their eyes wide open. But I did go back and research power of the internet and the archivings and actually read this story on the group that purchased the Shopko. And, basically they said, we've purchased a building with a strong tenant in place. And it's like, well, that's maybe a little bit of a stretch. But, all the exciting things going on there, including Shalotsky's and things like that. And wow. 6 months, well, Shalotsky's isn't there. That was one of the things you were hanging your hat on. Shopko really isn't necessarily a strong tenant. So that investment group is, probably scratching their head a little bit and in maybe a bit of a scramble mode. So we're going to have a little bit of an adjustment period, clearly, in our retail market. You look at the 41st Street Shopko. You've got Hobby Lobby being kind of redone. There's 53,000 feet of vacancy in the former Hobby Lobby space. You add another 90,000 of Shopko in essentially that same plaza. Well, right now, for the short term, there's some scrambling going on. I'd be more worried about the east side. We got the Shopko at 10th and Cleveland, 12th and Sycamore, kind of where they start Arrowhead Parkway. I'm not really sure what that street is actually called in front of there because it starts off on 10th, goes to 12th regardless. That one might be a little trickier, to fill that 90,000-foot vacancy on that corner. Because remember, you have a vacant Kmart just down the street as well at 85,000 feet. So there's another 250,000 square feet of big box vacant in less than half a mile from one another. So once again, we're going to see some change. There's going to be a little bit of growing pains, a couple hiccups along the way in our real estate market. But, we live in a great economy. We live in a great town. And so, I think, like I said, 2 of the 6 vacant boxes have already been spoken for. So, guarded optimism, but, recognizing that as we predicted at the end of last year, change is in the wind, and it's going to be a year of change and some uncertainty. Empire Place, just real quick, exciting, obviously, right in front of the mall. Kind of a different vibe, from the Lake Lorraine, because there's only 7.5 acres there. So one of the plans we'll see, and that's very much just a concept plan, but they've got only like 33,000 feet of buildings and about 4 buildings kind of in the front half. The back half, they're showing, that could be a 4-story hotel, another restaurant. It's all on the flexible mode at this point. It could be a lot of different things, but you're not going to see the big boxes like you see at Lake Lorraine just because the size isn't there. But we're going to hear these recycled names that we've been talking about. Everybody wants to see in town. Cheesecake Factory, Dave & Buster's, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle, P.F. Chang. I'm not saying any of those are going to come there, but certainly they're all on the table, and so that part is certainly an exciting thing that we're looking forward to for our market. So mixed blessings, I guess, is the word for this week's real estate topping the news cycle week.
Ron Nelson, how do they find you?
We're Nelson Commercial Real Estate, and commercial for short, on the web, and lots of fun things to talk about. If you want to chat with us, we're always loving to visit about new opportunities.
Bob Munt earlier in the week, Development Foundation talked about boomerang businesses coming back. We've got the first boomerang next.
Very cool.